So, welcome one and all. For anybody who's here live, we have some people trickling in slowly. And then we also are going to be having this posted on Bahamian Rhapsody. But I am joined by the wonderful A.R. Reddington,
Hello.
author, artist, and book talk colleague, maybe even friend of mine, that we kind of met, maybe last year. End of last year, you were one of the first folks that welcomed me onto the notorious TikTok platform.
Yeah, I just got active on that actually around pretty much a year ago, September, October. I had it for a couple years. I didn't understand how the app worked. All I saw were teenagers dancing, but people for years were like, you need to get on Book Talk. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And I have more followers now than I ever did on any of the meta platforms for the last 11 years. So it's been pretty good for me. And I've made a lot of really cool friends and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I love it too. Like you do meet some really interesting people. The internet right now, yeah, it's different that you and I are like right around the same age. So we've been through many different iterations of what the internet looks and feels like to be on and to like live on. Um, and people kind of lament the state of the internet right now, but you can still find like pockets of really cool things that are still happening out there. And I think that Book Talk is definitely one of them.
Yeah. Even
Awesome.
though sometimes I feel old.
Oh my god. Yeah, same. Especially, like, at this time midweek, like we are right now, so thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about Reddington's birth chart and some fixed star information, in just a little bit, but just to introduce a little bit of what, other things we'll be talking about after, which is your craft. And when I say your craft, singular, I mean you are a multi-talented individual. You are author, but not just author, also artist and a damn good one.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I think did I hear correctly? I think you mentioned in passing on one of your videos one time that you may have even been drawing longer than you've been writing.
Yes, I have a BFA in illustration with an additional specialization in children's books, but I found out that I like to, write books for adults, more of the darker stuff, and illustrate for that instead.
I love it, and you're in the right place. We have some really awesome folks that love to read and write the darker stuff too. So I'm so glad that you decided to join Substack. What was part of your decision to start here, where things are like longer form?
I did it by accident. I was following you and I was subscribing to people. I've been following a couple people, but I've heard of Substack for years, had no idea what it was. And I did something. I was trying to check my notifications to find something that you had posted. And it was like, do you want to log in? And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And I just connected my Google account. And it's like, hey, now you have an account. And I'm like, okay. And
It's
that's
like,
kind
do
of
I
what
have to log
happened.
in? Yeah.
But with all this, like, is TikTok closing down or not? It's good to have backup accounts and all the other places. And Substack, I'm not really sure, but it seems really like it's growing in popularity lately, especially with writers and stuff. It seems like a platform that I should be on. Uh, so we'll see how I utilize it in the future.
Yeah, it's like, do we need this one more thing? But I would say, if my vote counted, Substack is definitely a fun one to be on to meet with other writers, like just like you were surmising. Um, so that's so interesting. I didn't know the children's book specialty, which is so cool. Have you? I don't think I've seen anything promoted on like your link tree or on your TikTok. Do you have anything that's existing out there in the children's book
Uh,
world?
no, I was trying to publish my own children's book after I graduated the Mountain College of Art and Design in December of 2008. And that following year, I was trying to, because we had worked on our grad show, our own portfolio, the dummy book. I had it all ready to go and some of the illustration examples, and I had been submitting it to people. And they're like, well, even though you wrote it and you have the illustrations for it, we won't use your illustrations. We'd use our in-house artists. And that was kind of like news to me because that was never mentioned to me when I was in college. And then, there's a lot of people out there that have been famously published that they write their own stories and they do their own artwork and all that. But it was like a huge turn off to me. And I kind of like got in this huge rut after college because really drawing 12 hours a day burned me out.
Nerd.
And so instead, I actually started working on the Esoteric design series instead because that was more interesting to me and kind of got caught up in all that. And that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. We'll definitely talk more about the Esoteric design series after this. It's,
Mhm.
you said it, dark, adult. Your art in there is so realistic, which that's, I think, probably why, because I associate you with the amazing art that you've just loaded into this series, that is hyper realistic and like the form is, I don't know, really spot on. I was always so impressed by your work there. So when you said children's books, which is so stylistically different, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I should have brought some examples actually. But yeah, I started off doing it's like, the cartoony kitty stuff, the big heads, the little bodies and
I
stuff
love
like
it.
that. My natural drawing style is very childlike and kind of whimsy. So esoteric design, I did more of that. Yeah, that realistic. I wanted that realistic vibe. So a lot more utilizing stock references, photo bashing, manipulation, and painting all integrated and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it gives me so much like realistic Final Fantasy vibes.
I'm a huge fan of Final Fantasy. And
Yes.
that's why esoteric design was created to begin with.
No way.
Yeah, I could tell you all about that if you want to.
Perfect. Yes, I'm gonna write that down and we will talk about that.
Okay.
Let's dive into the woo-woo stuff first. Hey, shout out to Parappa, Clancy, and Melissa, just recently joining us.
Hello.
Hope you guys are doing well. So, Miss Reddington, we started talking about this, and I didn't want to dive too much into it before we started, but A.R. Reddington happens to be one of these infamous triple fire signs. So when we talk about big three in regard to astrology, Reddington, what do you know about the big three? Anything?
No, I
Okay.
think this stuff is cool, but I don't really know anything about it.
Okay. Mm, what do you know about astrology in general? Same thing, kind of, it's cool, but maybe
I
I know
I
what
pretty much
this.
I know I'm a Leo and I know I was born in the year of the tiger, and that's pretty much the extent of
That's
it.
pretty perfect. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I those both seem so fiery too. I don't know if Year of the Tiger is known as fiery, but that's cool. So big three in astrology, if you knew your birth time, which you were kind enough to provide me, big three is your sun sign, which is Leo, like you said, moon sign, which changes. The moon is so close to the earth. So it is one of the things that runs through all 12 signs very quickly. So it changes every maybe 2 days or so. Um, your moon sign is representative of your emotions, your inner core, what makes you feel emotionally safe, allegedly. And
Okay.
then your rising sign is the sign that was rising on the horizon the moment that you came into this world. So that's why the birth time is so important.
Okay.
So when someone says born under a bad sign or born under a lucky star or something like that, they're usually talking about the rising sign, also known as the ascendant. So those are the same thing, they're used interchangeably. And so, really, Leo is great. Leo is amazing. But your rising sign, as opposed to Leo, your sun sign, is alleged by astrologers to be way more important and more impactful to you than even your sun sign.
Okay.
So, what do you know about Leo?
They I just know, like, generally in horoscopes and stuff, people seem to generalize that they like the limelight or they could have an ego or something like that. They
Yeah,
tend
I
to
guess
be, I
so.
think, creative sometimes, things like that. So that's pretty much all I've ever heard.
Yes, big emphasis on the creative, or it could be dramatic, but it doesn't. It's fun to tease people about being dramatic just in that drama social way, but the dramatic arts is also like the history of Leo. And why that is because Leo is a sign ruled by the sun. It is the only sign ruled by the sun. So I think that's where that kind of misconception comes from. But those are jokes that are fun to tease people with. Um, so your rising sign, since it's the sign that was coming up over the hills or the plains or yeah, plains, right? Because Kansas.
Yeah.
So the sign that was coming up over the horizon while you were being born is Sagittarius,
Okay.
uh, another fire sign. It is the wild, free, independent fire sign. It's into philosophy.
Okay.
Sagittarius is renowned for being able to be friends with just about anybody, like understanding people from lots of different walks of life. Um, doesn't like to be restricted, but is very compassionate when it comes to other people anyway. So it's not like that. So you could easily roast any of these signs, right? So people roast Sagittarius, similarly to how they roast Leo, but for Sag, they roast them in the direction of uh, don't try to get a Sagittarius to commit to anything because you won't be able to. They'll run away. You'll never hear from them again. Um, but people are human beings, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. We also so J.R. Phillips, another mutual friend of ours, she is
Right.
a Sag rising too. Like the description of Aries, it makes me feel like a Giga Chad, says Parepa. It's so nice to have other denizens of the net joining us for this conversation too. I love it. So Sagittarius rising, wild and free, the archer, very mutable though, very flexible. And I think that's where that, being able to be friends with all walks of life comes from. There's another social butterfly aspect of your chart, which we'll get into in a little bit. But in terms of your fiery big three, you have your moon in the final of the three fire signs, which is Aries, like Parafa was talking about. So the fun, if we were to roast Aries or having a moon in Aries, it would be since Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Sometimes people call my Aries friends babies. We call them you big baby because they can come into things with wide-eyed wonder. They can fearlessly lead, but it is kind of like they're here to learn the full scope of life's offerings. And so I think that sometimes that wonder is conflated with being a baby. So don't think that you're being a baby. The fire aspects of you means that you're probably a kick ass person and exuberant and ready to live life. Um, if you had to choose between the ram, the lion, or the archer, which is what a centaur, do you have a preference or a predilection for any of those three? Do you feel pulled or drawn toward one more than the others?
Well, I would just say I've always associated myself with the lion and fiery, behavior. So, um, I would have to probably look into the other ones a bit more to see how much it applies, but I would just say probably the Leo.
Leo the lion. Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
But I also love cats, so it's how
Oh my gosh. So I don't know if you have had a chance to see um, the drawings for Where Magic is Made that JR put out for Indie Creator Collective, but was I close to the cat? I didn't even read your story, but was the cat close to anything that was appropriate?
Yeah, it's perfect. It
Okay.
goes right with the story. Like the costume that you used and the cat, it actually matches the story perfectly. So
Excellent. Excellent. Those are my psychic powers.
yeah, there you go. Oh, I had a question about the astrology thing. So what do you think about people who are born like a month early?
Yeah, I think that that's really cool. I think that they do that because if we went by well, I think being born is probably easier to tell than when someone was conceived. So so I think by virtue of it being easier to tell, I think that's probably why we go with actual birth time. But I was born late. So way late. I was supposed to be a Scorpio sun, but I'm a
Uh-huh.
Sag. So
Okay, I was gonna say I was born a month early, so I always wondered if you're reading astrology, if you ever take into that account, because I was very much premature. I was a tiny baby, so I don't know if that affects anything.
A wee little baby. You know,
Mhm.
classical astrologers will say that that doesn't affect anything. But when I first saw you on TikTok, I thought for sure you had some prominent Virgo placements, which is really interesting. And I think Virgo follows Leo, so maybe you should have been a Virgo?
Maybe if I can't remember what's next, but
I'm trying to do month
what is a
math and I
Virgo?
can't. Yeah. But yeah, Virgo energy. But you do have a couple of you have 3 placements in Virgo, which is interesting. Oh, actually, and Virgo is your 10th house. Okay. I'm gonna say a whole bunch of words here. Don't feel the need to follow along. I'm just glad I have you trapped here captive, so you have to nod politely and listen to me for just a couple more minutes, and then we'll get into the literature stuff, okay?
Well, I love it. I think it's fascinating.
Okay, great. Such a good sport. Thank you so much. Um, all right, so in astrology, have you seen the wheels that people sometimes make for yeah, and it looks like a
Yeah.
big pizza, they got the slices in there. Every
Uh-huh.
slice on that pizza is a house.
Okay.
A house that these little planets or these asteroids can live in, where they were when you were born. So adding extra flavor to the archetypes of each sign or planet. So Sagittarius as your rising sign, that's supposed to be how you come off to people when you first meet them or at the grocery store, people who don't really know your reputation yet. Reputation is a different house. So it might be your physical appearance, your face, your mannerisms, things like that. Sagittarius actually usually is known for like wild hair. You don't have wild hair.
I straightened it before we got on because it was wild.
I love it. Um, and then also naturally very athletic. Whether that's seeming or able to build muscle easily, like no sweat, can always stay fit, whatever.
I
Um,
I used
yeah,
to be played sports my whole life, worked out a lot, and was very, very fit in my 20s.
nice. You still look fit to me, especially on the internet. Yeah, there you go. You could shot put some heavy books. Um, what sports did you play?
Oh gosh, let's see. I did, softball and basketball growing up, and then um, a little bit of track. I tried cross country once. I am a sprinter, but I cannot do that long distance running. That's when I found out I had exercise induced asthma, so I can't do long distance stuff.
Careful.
I can do
Yeah,
the short burst stuff. Yeah.
that's power. That's real power. Okay. So house one, how you look, how you come off to people. House two is your values and finances. Your second house is in Capricorn, which is a very business oriented, legacy, earth, steady, stable, practical house. Um, so for your values, that is both aesthetic, what you find pleasing in the arts, perhaps, or even interior design, and also your money. Capricorn is kind of like a good one to have. Steady. It always promises returns, even if it might be a little slower going than we want it to be. It's like
Okay.
Capricorn's like the strict dad. He's like, if you put in the time, if you mow the lawn every other weekend or whatever, like you'll see some allowance.
Mhm.
Um, Moon is in your fifth house. My moon is in my fifth house too. What I feel like about the moon in the fifth house, which is known for not just children, like offspring, our babies, our human babies, but also the things that we bring into this world in terms of our projects, art, books, things of that nature. A thing that you and I think, have in common is that we like to have a hand in on so many different aspects as possible in those projects. It just feels good to me when I do it. Can you tell me a little bit about what you like about having input in crafting something like this? Because you've done it multiple times.
Um, I don't know. I think it's like with other people's projects, I like being helpful, but also if I can do small pieces of the project, it makes me feel like I'm being accomplished in some way. And as for my own projects, doing a little bit of everything or doing it all myself makes me feel more independent. I don't have to rely on anyone else. Having as many skills as possible only benefits me in the future for myself and potentially for other people, and maybe will bring in more income.
I love this is really practical of you. Um, another interesting thing is that not only is the moon in your fifth house, but your north node is there too. So you're like all of those inclinations and those instincts, whether it's to lead because of the Aries flavor of the house, of that slice of pizza, or whether it's the moon being there, which is your emotions and how you feel secure and things like that, what you like about being creative in the creative process, whatever your philosophy is about it, you're headed in the right direction. Like that's your life's purpose. The North Node is a calculated point. It's not an actual asteroid or anything like this. It's not a moon or a planet. It is a calculation based off of the moon, and it's alleged to tell you what your path in life should be. Your South
Okay.
Node is supposed to be what you come into this life already knowing. So it's the skills that are really easy for you. So for you, your South Node would be in Libra. So it might be, is it easy for you to get along with people?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of
Just
meshed well, I guess. I was kind of like a chameleon growing up, so my friend group was a wide variety of people, and yeah.
okay. Okay, cool. So Libra is known for the love of beautiful things, balance in things, whether that is in art or form of a person or justice, being it is the scales. Um, so all of those things, you come into this life being able to have like that charm and that appreciation of beauty in the arts and that sort of thing. But having it on the Libra Aries axis is more like taking that leadership into your hands with your creations and with the things that you were doing and making and kind of charting your own path, regardless of what your network says, because your Libra is in your 11th house. So it's kind of really neat that you've found your way there and are carving out such a space for yourself. Now, you said you had just joined Book Talk this time last year ish.
Mhm.
Um, and you really liked it, but I'm really curious, have you been doing anything what had you been doing before that in terms of surrounding yourself with like minds, or what have you been doing to fulfill yourself in that way?
Um, Mostly, I was on Facebook and Instagram, which wasn't really helpful. It's pretty much been crickets, especially once they started changing the algorithm and it was kind of like pay to play, you
Yeah.
know? Other than that, I go to the local events like the Renaissance Festival and Comic Cons, and I networked that way with other authors and got connections that way. So that's how I become kind of a publisher for some of the other authors. I kind of a la carte my skills to how they need it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I found more like-minded people was by traveling and going to shows like that.
I love it. Nice to see you, Parappa. Have a nice evening yourself. Okay. I think that's a great segue to talk a little bit about um, what you've been up to lately. I do love Renaissance Fair, and I'm just getting into Comic Cons and things like that. Do you like to go in an ensemble?
I used to cosplay as my characters all the time in my 20s. I was always dressed up as Arya and Ivory and sometimes Lita from the Esoteric Design series. And, I was younger and fitter. I don't really fit in those costumes anymore, especially after having my daughter. But it helped pull people in. It's like, oh,
Yep.
who are you dressed up as? Well, let me tell you. So
Yes.
it was helpful, but now I just dress normally and comfortably because I'm tired. They're exhausting. They're fun, but they're exhausting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like you're putting your all into something, you're invested,
Yeah.
totally in the moment. Now, if you want, no pressure, but I'm just going to put that out there. If you have anything that you have from either your children's book projects or maybe past Comic Cons or anything of your characters that you want included in this post, definitely send them along. Let me know. We'll get them attached. And
Oh,
if
okay.
if you're okay with it, I'll also post your birth chart too. No personal identifying information whatsoever.
Okay, yeah. I can send you some images and you can just go ham on that, whatever you want to use.
Nice. Absolutely. Okay, great. I appreciate it. So, the Esoteric Design Series.
Mhm.
Let's dive in.
You want me to just pitch it to you and tell you all about it?
Well, if you want, pitch it to the audience too. I
Mhm.
have the first book. I haven't
Okay.
been reading much whatsoever, but I've read the first 2 chapters. Full disclosure. Um, and I can't wait. You have a bunch of other books out as well that are we'll link to all of them. One that is particularly timely, but since it is your flagship series, and I'm just so into the art, I'm looking at some of it right now. I think that this is like the perfect place or perfect entry point for folks here on Substack that might be dark horror or dark thriller or science fiction folks to jump in and get used to your work and your voice. So tell us a little bit about that.
All right. Well, I have esoteric design. I usually say sci-fi, urban fantasy, lots of action and adventure. It's a trilogy and there are over 50 illustrations in each book. So I have chapter illustrations, an additional section in the back that's got character biographies, bestiary, armory, weaponry, and more. So I actually, sorry, it's all like inverted on me here. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually was writing fan fiction in college
Shut
for
up.
for Final Fantasy,
Shut up.
and I had a huge following. I had over 20,000 followers back then. Last I checked, over 100,000 hits on these stories.
Oh my God. Wait, which Final Fantasy? All of them?
7.
7, right? Oh
I
my God.
rewrote it from the perspective if Zack never died. Now, this was before anybody knew anything about Zack. They didn't make the video games, they didn't have the anime, none of that stuff. Advent Children hadn't even been out yet. So all they knew was Zack and Cloud's little past thing, right? So I rewrote the entire series, almost like a 500,000 words, recreating the entire storyline. And as Advent Children came out and Dirge of Cerberus came out, I just kept going with this series. Yeah, and people were like, "Oh my god, you should write your own books." Well, at the time, I was in college working on my grad show, and I was revisiting these characters that I originally created when I was 14 years old, after I had played Final Fantasy VIII for the first time. I made Dovian and Arya and Troy, but they had different names back then, and they were just characters that never left me, so I kept recreating them every so often. So for my grad show, I was thinking, I want to create a video game. So I was doing all this concept art for the esoteric design with the intention of it being a game.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to turn it into a video game. And everyone was encouraging me to write my own books. And that's when I clicked. I was like, I can write this out as a book series. And so you have this progression throughout the esoteric design of those monsters getting bigger and badder. And you got to kind of have a little bit of a strategy to defeat them. So it easily could be translated to a game, I feel.
I agree. This is all making so much sense. Like everything is clicking together. I'm like, armory, maps, characters. This is perfect. Oh my God. I just want to go live in Final Fantasy VII. Maybe not Midgar, but this is
Costa del Sol or
yeah.
Cosmo Canyon. I could see you in Cosmo Canyon, man, hanging out with Nanaki and the solar thing.
Oh my God, absolutely. And the music, the soundtrack for the Canyon is so good. It's so bassy.
Yeah.
Very groovy. Um oh my gosh, now I'm gonna need to get an emulator and play that again. This is what it feels like to live on the internet for too many decades, I think. You just start living in a circle of all your favorite things from childhood. Um Okay, we also have friend of this Substack, John Bauer, who's also on Book Talk. I'm not sure if you know John. Are friends with John?
I'm not sure. I'll have to check.
No worries, no worries. We will also link John's stuff here. His Substack is called Nightly Noise. Also a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII, so we are all in
Okay.
good company here.
Nice.
So I think you'll have another fan of the Esoteric Design series too. But the name, why the name? Help me, I'm a noob in your universe.
Um, okay, so
We don't have to get into it if you don't want.
Well, I wrote this series while I was married to my previous husband. So that's why originally it was published under the name A.R. Krebs. And I republished under the new name because, divorce and everything
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But he was like super into conspiracy theories and stuff. So,
Okay.
I was surrounded by that. So you'll catch a little bit of the conspiracy theories and religious conspiracy theories and ancient alien kind of vibes here and there throughout the book. Because that's just what I was surrounded by 24/7. And so, like, esoteric kind of who is this dark entity who's really pulling the strings behind everything. So there's that dystopian capitalist type nightmare where the government actually is all corporate owned and
Mhm.
it's basically billionaires running the world and buying out companies and countries and things like that. But there's also darker forces at play and the demonic attacks and Arya and Troy and Dovian are trying to figure out who's really, in charge of all of this.
Okay.
And so,
Okay. They're breaking up
so
the
yeah.
red string. The cork board is out. We're trying to
Right.
figure out what's going on. Very, very cool. Thank you for that. And also, may I say, before before we started even geeking out about this, your pitch is so professional. Your quick elevator pitch is nailed. I love it.
I said it about 200 times over the
Yeah.
weekend. So I've been doing this for 11 years. I've got it pretty much nailed down where I can quick sail to people. So it was pretty good.
The cons, I'm sure, help too. People passing by. There's lots of
Yeah.
stuff. Very flashy situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, if you, I mean, I don't want to send people to the forums to go find previous incarnations of your work, which is here, but like, where were you lurking on these fanfic forums before? Was this like AO3? What situation were you?
Fanfiction.net.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, fanfiction.net. I think that was the old school one. I don't even know if Wattpad was out yet. I'm not sure. I don't even know if it's still running. Someone told me that they were going to shut it down a long time ago, but I checked a couple years ago and it was still up there, but the formatting's all wonky. So yeah, the story is probably really rough, but
Oh my gosh. Don't go there, sleuths. Don't worry, it will be linked below for your ease of finding. Um, Just keeping an eye on time here, I also want to plug a very timely seasonal Whispers from Beyond 30 miniature tales. When was this published?
um, let's
Ish.
see. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so 2014, 2015, 2017, and 18. I would say about 2019 or 2020. I think 2020, maybe. I'm trying to remember. I got
Better.
pregnant right at COVID, so I'm trying to
Yes.
remember if I published it before that or after that. So it was around 2020, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. So 30 miniature tales. Would you recommend this for folks starting to access your world, or would you encourage them to dive right into esoteric design series?
I would just say it kind of depends on what you prefer. Because if you're wanting like to sample my work and kind of the variety of voice that I can have because it does change depending on what I'm working on. Then I would say Whispers from Beyond is a good collection because every chapter is its own miniature story, changing themes and genre throughout. So thriller, horror, dark fantasy, and then there's a couple other ones thrown in, kind of some that are a little more philosophical or just fantasy. So you kind of get a sample of all my different writing styles throughout that book. But if you're if you want to go with my big one and you like artwork with it, then yeah, esoteric's my kind of my baby.
Yeah. Well, it's comprehensive. It's binge worthy, it sounds like. You know what I mean? Now I know
Mhm.
it's what's bumped up to the top of my TBR too. You did a great job selling it. All you needed to say was Final Fantasy VII. But since Halloween is upon us, we're at the very beginning, the crux, the onset of October here. Um, I know a lot of people are really into gothic works right now. Is there maybe one or two that pop out to you that might fit what's in vogue right now? People are really into like that Dracula new love story. I'm sure you've seen the edits making the rounds on TikTok. Um, but anything gothic, really.
Is that why there was an influx of vampire cells this weekend? My friend next to me, she sells romance, and she had vampire romance, and she says, I've barely been selling these, but for some reason this past weekend people were just eating up her vampire series.
100%. 100%. And that new vampire, A Love's Tale or A Love Story, directed by Luc Besson, so director of Fifth Element. It's not even
Okay.
out. Yeah, not even out in the US yet. But people are just like salivating over it. Uh, yeah, the girly pops, they are all about it. So if there's anything like that in Whispers from Beyond, now is your opportunity to plug.
I wouldn't say it's vampires, but I mean, I do have kind of a werewolf incarnation in one of them. I've got demons. I've got dark angels. I've got that dark fantasy kind of thing going on. Um, Murder horror. So yeah, it's Whispers from Beyond is my Halloween book. I've sold about 20 to 30 of those this past weekend while I was at the
Amazing.
road fair. So yeah, that one is definitely your Halloween read. If you're into Tales from the Crypt, Black Mirror, Creep Show, scary stories to tell in the dark, that's kind of your vibe.
I was just gonna, yes, absolutely. Check, check, check. Definitely a great time. So you said something that you also will shift your voice to suit the tale.
Yes.
Tell me about this. What's your personal philosophy, or how do you know where to find that sweet spot depending on the tale? Does
It
it
just
just
kind of flows organically through me. It depends on what I'm writing. So, esoteric design is third person. But when I wrote The Trouble with Mystery, my romantic thriller, I did that one just naturally as first person because that character came out and just started talking through me, basically. That sounds like weird, like I'm
you
possessed.
channeled them?
I do. They are a bit of like every character in the esoteric design is a different chunk of me and just expanded. And so yeah, Whispers from Beyond, because every chapter is a different genre or story. It started as a writing practice. I had a list of 30 words, and it was supposed to be a writing exercise for every single day. So you take one word and you write a story inspired by that word. And I just naturally had darker, more horror themes throughout it. So I kind of kept that up throughout the thing. So yeah, the voices just changed depending on the character. So I could switch between first and third person because of that.
Red, you're amazing. You wrote 30 tales in 30 days.
Oh no, I didn't. It took me years, but
Wow.
I started off. I used to have a Patreon, and I started off. I was like, "There's a challenge to get me going," because I was having writer's block, and a lot of stuff was going on in my personal life. So I was like, "I need to create in some way," and so this was a good practice. And I think I got about 20 or 25 days worth done in a month, which wasn't too bad. And then over the years, I kind of just compiled a few more, and I was like, "You know what? I'm going to turn this into a book. Why waste it?" And so,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. Now, after talking to you a little bit about how your mind works in writing, of course, I want to look at where your Mercury placement is on your birth chart. So, not to give you
Okay.
whiplash, not to give anyone who's still with us in the audience whiplash, but Mercury. So in mythology, do you like mythology, like Greek and Roman mythology?
I loved Egyptian, Greek, and Roman, mythology growing up. So, yeah.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Mhm.
Okay, great. So Mercury or Hermes, fleet of foot, winged sandals, goes between worlds.
Yeah.
So, Mercury in astrology is representative of how the mind works and also of communication. Your Mercury happens to be in Cancer, which is a very loving, very maternal, very emotionally fleshed out archetype for Mercury to be in. Not its favorite, not its least favorite. So, not debilitated, not whatever. Souped up or anything like that. But it's in the eighth house. Now, people who know astrology are probably going, oh, after everything you've said, that all of your books are about, what you like to write about, because the eighth house is all about, it's the Scorpio house. So it's all about transformation, death and rebirth. It's sex, inheritances, other people's money. It is the occult. If there is a demonic house, it is there. Not that you're haunted, but like things that haunt in
Unhaunted.
general are in that house. And I think that is so cool. So you naturally are drawn to these darker themes, and you're in the right place because these are my favorite things, and so many people are into it on Substack. The fact that you're talking about, like, religious themes and motifs, the fact that you're talking about conspiracies or even just angels and demons, or, I mean, you said werewolves, so that's also very, very fun. Um, it seems like you're not afraid to shy away from transgressive issues, right? Things that people might otherwise shy away from. Have you always been a reader or a writer, a consumer or a maker of these types of themes and motifs?
I would say so. I mean, I've been creating art since, I was very young, 5, 6 years old, and angels and demons, darker themes have always interested me. And that's kind of just how I've always been. And then, yeah, writing. I remember typing on my grandma's typewriter when I was little. So
That is so precious. Your grandma too? That's kind of like Cancer, Mercury in Cancer. I like it.
if my grandma, I spent my summers with my grandma, and she's probably the reason why I'm so creative. She taught me how to sew, paint, cook, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I get my creativity from her.
I think that is beautiful and also creepy. Beautiful from the grandma perspective, creepy just because you add your own little flavor into it. Uh, is there anything you hate to write about?
Hmm. Gosh, nonfiction.
Oh my god, yes! Gross! Not to hit
It
on
has
anyone in the chat, sorry.
no, there's I mean, I'm working on a dark poetry work, but, I would say that doesn't count as, like, like, writing papers at school and stuff like that,
Yeah,
like, or if I was writing something scientific, though it was fun to study scientific stuff for the esoteric design just to write down one paragraph, but you're spinning, your fictional
yeah,
world with this kinda logic and stuff. But but yeah, nonfiction I probably couldn't do. Maybe strictly, like, historical fiction even. Cozy romance, I don't know if I could do a cozy romance. And when I wrote The Trouble with Mystery, I didn't want to write it because of the spice, I wanted to write it because of the dark plot twist. So that was kinda hard, was writing the spicy scenes, and now for my current WIP, I'm gonna amp up the spice throughout the series on that one, so that's gonna be interesting to pull off because it's kind of
girl.
awkward to write it. But
Okay. I love
but I
it.
like to learn new things. I like to push boundaries, see what I can do, and learn new things. So that's why I always like to change genres and switch things up because I get bored very easily. And that's kind of how I keep myself interested in projects, I guess.
Very, very cool. I can see it. I can see it all. So, I have one last thing that I want to talk to you about, and then we'll open it to all of the cool things that you are working on now. Anything that you'd like to plug that we haven't talked about, but you're also in cahoots with one Ron Shaw, a mutual friend of ours who happens to be hosting, promoting, putting on Indie Book Talk Creator Awards this year. It's the first inaugural year, and you have had a hand in it. He actually mentioned you in his interview. I don't know if you saw it, but you had a hand in creating one of my favorite parts of it because I'm a very visual person. But the logo, this beautiful logo you created, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh. What he reach out to you? Did you offer your services?
I offered because I love Ron.
I
He's
know.
so great. I just vibe with him. I don't know what it is. There's some about him. And I was like, "Oh, he's doing that. That's really cool." And I wanted to be helpful in some way. And I've got, like 18 years experience as a graphic designer now. I don't know, that makes me feel really old, is that right? Because I worked as a graphic designer for newspapers, for
Very
many
cool.
years. So, that's where I learned how to do formatting, and I built the ads, and I was an ad sales rep, blah, 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 blah. So I was just like, "Yeah, I can whip together a logo and just make it visually fun and stimulating," because that logo, I think, helps catch people's eye, and it's,
Yeah.
you know, something that he can use. I don't know what the award, if there's gonna be an award, like a certificate or something he's gonna mail out to people, I don't know, but
Dude, I'd enter it
branding.
for yeah, I'd enter it for a digital version of that band with the logo on it. It's so cute. I love it. Looks legit. It is legit. such a good feeling behind the whole ethos of the awards, like making sure that people are getting recognized. It's chosen by other people on Book Talk, other creators. Um, and where are we at now? Ron just posted something today, and I feel like
I
I
know.
saw it, and I
Um,
ran by it. I liked it. I listened, but it's out of my head now. It's like we're at the final stages, right?
yeah, I think we're locked in on, I think, the final 5, and we're on round 3 of voting.
Yeah, it's getting real.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
it's exciting.
for anyone on Substack that is not yet on Book Talk, we would highly encourage it. And it's perhaps final days before TikTok goes the way of the dodo. Who knows? But
Yeah.
definitely check out the Indie Book Talk Creator Awards. I'm just double checking that I said that correctly because I messed it up last time.
Uh,
Book
Book
Talk
Talk
Indie.
Indie Author Awards.
Thank you. We'll link it below. That way I can't mess it up and you will for sure find it. But Reddington. Red.
Yes.
A.R. Reddington. Squirrel. What else are you working on that you'd like to tell the people here or watching later about?
My current WIP is Guardians of the Alam.
Amazing.
So when Kindle Vella went live, like no one knew about it. So now it's already shut down. I was like, you know what? This is something where I can force myself to write. And Guardians of the Alam is actually characters that I started creating in 2014. And I started writing out that story, and they had word limit restrictions for each chapter. And so I feel like it's kind of more of like what you would call a first draft. And so now that Kindle Vella platform is gone, I'm taking it out and reworking the whole thing, fluffing it up, and kind of getting it back to. I felt like some of it was rushed because of that, limitation. So it's going to be romanticy, action, adventure. It's about humans who bind to elemental spirits. The more they utilize these powers, the more animalistic they become. So you've got hybrids. You've got these badass bestial warriors that are like anthropomorphic, out in the bestial plains. You've got Bernhelder, who is the crown of light, and they're against any symbiotic use of the elements. They would rather utilize them for weaponry and all this kind of stuff. They're siphoning up energy from the planet, like ancient soul energies of these elemental spirits, and it creates earthquakes that awakens an ancient plague-like race. So, I mean, there's a matriarchal society, there's war, there's friendship, found family, love, time travel eventually.
Oh my
It's
God.
crazy. There's a plant race that lives within a time rift. And I mean, it
This
is an
is
in-depth plot. So it's not just like a spicy smut book. There is a lot going on, and it's going to be plot heavy. So I've got about 100,000 words written, and I'm kind of fluffing it up, and that's just book 1.
amazing. So I know you're making it a book and that's perfect, but the Kindle Vella version of things like serials here on Substack, I feel like would do super, super well too, in case that's something. Like if you're looking for something to put onto Substack, it might be something in that same spirit of the Kindle Vella. I think that's what people use it for.
Okay.
Yeah, just to
See,
get
like
those
I'm using,
gears turning.
yeah. I mean, I kind of liked that writing challenge that I did with Whispers from Beyond, and I would love to do that again. And so that's something that I could, in the future, with mini stories, short stories, or maybe even some of my poetry, sampling some of that on here before I compile them into books.
Yeah,
And yeah,
totally.
okay. Good to
Yeah.
know.
Dude, I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad that you took the time. Thank you for making the time to join me, listen, and then share it with our fine friends here. And welcome to PM Done. Thanks so much for joining us. And Brennan, too. Um, so you guys go ahead, go look up, click on the icon of A.R. Reddington here, author, artist, multi-talented creator who's working on so many amazing dark 8th house flavored things. So if you like demons, if you like the dark, if you like really lots of red thread like we were talking about before, there are so many projects. We're going to be linking them below when the post goes live, but definitely follow along on Substack and TikTok and lots of other great places. We'll link the link tree below. Reddington, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have an absolutely wonderful spooky season.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll talk to you soon and have a great day, guys. Thank you. Bye.